Happy Tuesday. I'm back for week 2 with Blair and Brian, and we're going to talk about nailing your online casting submissions. So I'm so excited to be back for week 2 because last week we completely depressed everyone watching with the idea that there are 2,500 to 4,000 submissions for every role, right?
Yeah.
But the news is better because we're going to talk about how to make those submissions stand out today,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, much better.
Yes.
Much
much better.
All the good news this time. Got the positive face on.
Totally.
Ready for big things.
And what's awesome is that we're actually going to look at a demo casting director account so that you can see what he or she sees.
Which is actually a big deal, I think, because for
huge.
me as an actor, I never considered the day-to-day, like what does a casting director see? How do they work? The actual mechanics of how, and I think knowing that, it can help so much because it helps sort of steer you and your agent towards submitting in a way that
and I think as actors, you submit, or your agent submit, and you only get half the circle, right? You don't really know what happens after that. So today we're going to kind of show you what happens.
Pull back the curtain.
And that hopefully will give you some ideas, some suggestions, things you can do to be better, smarter, more professional, and rise to the top.
Awesome. So let's take a look.
There we go. So a while ago, we actually put out a breakdown for demo purposes and said, hey, submit your profile the way you do or on Actors Access or have agencies submit through breakdowns for purpose of demonstration. So all of these people were kind enough to submit their profile so we can go through and look at them the way a casting director looks at an actual breakdown.
Thank you, people.
Thank you very much. So when we look at the screen, this is what casting directors see. We've put out a breakdown for a role. We asked for females between 20 and 30. The breakdown itself often has a much longer description than that. Right. And that's something, especially in Actors Access, that we find actors don't pay enough attention to. Because the point of all this is not necessarily to be discovered by a casting director and say, hey, look at all the things I can do and look at me. It's kind of looking at the problem backwards. It's not about the actor in this case. It's really about the casting director and what problem do they have. Yes. They need to cast this specific role. So in this case, let's say, female 20s to 30s, the elementary school teacher in a small town, the next teacher at the local school.
Right.
So the job of the casting director is not find the next big thing. The job of the casting director is find a female 20s to 30s who looks and acts and can play the role of an elementary school teacher. Right. And so all of these submissions are not about the actor. It's about the role.
Right. Because I think a lot of actors don't, and me included before I started thinking from this point of view, is the casting director is actually not going to hire you. That's not their job. Casting director is going to parade about 5 of you in front of their boss and say, I vouch for these people. I promise these 5 women can be your elementary school teacher. So they're offering solutions to the problem. And your job as an actor is to help the casting director in that and say, hey, look, I am the solution to your problem. You need an elementary school teacher? Boom, here it is. And everything about your profile should speak to that. So now we log in as a casting director and we've received these submissions. And as we've said, it can be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 submissions for one role. So we've sat in casting director's office and watched casting directors go through it. And quite frankly, what we see is this. Let me go through.
Seems a bit slow, actually.
Actually, I know her. I worked with her. She could be good. Maybe not right for this one. I've worked with her. Actually, she could be great. Let me mark her as a number 1 just for right now. I kind of, it's a temporary kind of bucket for me to put her in. And go down. I've worked with her. I know her. Oh, actually, she'd be great. I know her. That'd be great. There's 2. And on and on and on down the page. There's 100 actors per page. If you have 2,000 actors, that's 20 pages. And cast directors really do move at about this speed. And on and on and on and on they go.
Yeah, so that headshot that you agonized over whether your pores were too big and is this one hair out of place or whatever is going to show up at sort of 2 by 2.5 inches on their computer screen in bad fluorescent lighting. And it's going to go flying by like the race cars do on a NASCAR race. And
thinking from the point of view of a casting director, if your job is to find the people who can fill, 20 slots, that's all I have time for. So what about this profile is going to speak to the casting director to say, hey, I should be one of those spots. I can help you.
And specifically, I can help you be the school teacher in the small town.
Yes, right. Yes, right.
So
very specific. So the headshot that isn't just the pretty headshot, but the headshot that speaks specifically to that story. It's amazing. We see a lot of agents and managers who pick the first headshot that's on the profile or the one that looks prettiest and just submit. And it may not be specific to the story.
Right.
It may not be the right one. A lot of times we'll see notes, which if you're submitting on Actors Access, you can add a note, or agents can add notes for their own clients. Notes that don't speak specifically to the role are same thing. They sort of get in the way. They don't help a casting director. So here's a link to demo and bio. And again, if I'm thinking about I need my teacher, I'm not going to stop and look at this as a casting director. I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, you guys, in the Actors Access submission box, it's quite a large box, and it says 2,000 characters maximum. So you're thinking, sweet, man, I got 2,000 characters to work with.
Dear
casting director. I would like to. But what you're seeing on the screen here is only about the first 40 or 50 characters show up. And yes, they can click on that to see the rest of the note, but literally no casting directors really ever do. Yeah. So in your submission, get the shortest possible, be as brief as you possibly can. If the role needs somebody who speaks French and you speak French, your note is, I speak French. Fluent in French. I lived in Paris for 5 years. If it's, it's part of what you're trying to do is draw the shortest possible dotted line between you and the role. So what does the role call for? If this is a role for a school teacher and you were a school teacher, your note is, I taught, in an elementary school in the Midwest for 3 years, whatever it is. That's your note. Short, sweet, and right to the point.
Every part of this profile should actually speak to the specifics of the role as much as possible. So your headshot that tells the same story, your slate shot. Wow. There's so much good stuff here. Yeah. I don't know what to talk about first, right?
So
I'm just going to let you wallow in it for a while.
I know.
Let's talk about video and resume and slate shot.
So every part of this profile really should speak to that specific problem, right? So this is, let me help you solve the problem. So your headshot, very specific to that role. Your note should speak specifically to the breakdown. The video clips that you submit. Again, this is your opportunity to show the casting director, here is me in that universe. Here's me telling a similar story. Here's me doing that. So, people will submit clips that, if it's we're looking for a wacky sitcom and you submit the clip that's from the horror thriller, it doesn't necessarily help the casting director. The nice part about this system, when you set up your profile in Actors Access, and we can flip over to use mine just for example, you can actually break your clips out. Into, as a matter of fact, clips is what casting directors use.
Into clips.
Yeah, the old demo reel thing you used to do because you had to carry a VHS tape around, or a DVD around for, but now you have the opportunity to break things into clips, and it's a really great opportunity to tell the casting director a little bit more about you even before they watch any video.
Yes.
And ultimately, if you've got 3 or 4 clips up there, the casting director can pick the one that they feel is most appropriate. The worst scenario, because they're not going to watch a lot of your video, the worst scenario is they start watching my plain old demo reel and they give up before the really good one that really matches the tone for this role, and they never see it. So now with the clips, you have the opportunity to kind of put those things in a place where they can be seen instead of having to wade through all the other clips just to get to the one that's relevant.
It's amazing how often we'll see submissions that have like either demo reel or comedy reel or theatrical reel. The fact that you can go in and clip and add a title, a specific title, or add a description is great because you can say, this is the project I did and this is the role I played in the project. And if it's a project that people know, a show that was on TV, you can use the title. If it's some independent film, no one's used the title, don't use the title. Say independent horror film, award-winning festival film, just to set the scene. And then what role did you play in that? Best one example I ever saw was independent slasher horror film, intended victim who turns the tables and kicks some ass.
Nice.
Right? And I use that example all the time because it's so clear. And if you're a casting director, you're like, that's exactly what I need.
And it's sort of enticing. Like, I haven't even watched that video, but I kind of want to watch that video. That, there's an opportunity to kind of, to tease these things a little bit. While we're on the subject of that.
Clip, just to be clear, to the submission.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can pick which clips go and which don't. Okay. Which I think is great. You are tailoring the submission towards what the casting director needs.
Yes.
That's,
while we're on the subject of clips, edit your clip down so that it's you. It's about you. There's not enough time on clips for that sweeping landscape shot that looked so great on film. But like, get the clip down to where it's tight and it's just you.
Starts on you.
The point of the clip is to show what you can do, not what everybody else can do, not what the cinematographer can do.
Yes.
Be really brutal when you do the editing on those clips.
The clip that's some big star for 30 seconds and then cut to you when you go,
right.
Yes. Isn't going to really help
scene
you.
with Denzel. Well, we know he can act.
Yeah, let's hire Denzel. Let's get Denzel in here.
So all of this stuff, whether it's the picture or the note or your videos or even the slate shot, which is that kind of talking headshot that you can attach to your picture. Yes. It's a slate. It's up to 7 seconds. It's just saying, hi, I'm Blair Hickey. Keep it short, keep it simple. Okay. Match sort of the tone of your headshot, right? Yes. So we have a more friendly headshot or a more serious headshot. You kind of match that tone. But all of that stuff is ways that you can say to the casting director, hey, I can tell your story, right? You need this, I do that. Right. So it's in my picture, it's in my slate shot, it's in my clips, it's in my note, everything is as specific as possible, which is kind of the only way you're going to get pulled out of a crowd if they don't already know you.
Right.
Yeah, I think ultimately, you want to have a compelling headshot, you want to have compelling video, you want to ultimately do as much as you possibly can to make yourself stand out. But I'm a big believer in consistent branding as well. Like, I think you need to figure out what it is that makes you unique. Because it's so easy to get lost in the crowd when it's 1,000 other submissions. And I don't mean do weird things, like things that are going to be crazy. There are a lot of ways to make an impression. You want to make a good impression, not a bad impression. But you want to make an impression, and sort of average choices that are sort of what everybody else is doing. There's a real risk there of just getting lost in the crowd.
So do you mean in terms of what headshot you're choosing? Or
I think it's everything. I think it's the headshot you choose, it's the video you choose, and so on. I think a lot of people come out of an acting program and they're like, I can be anything, I can play any role, anytime, I can do anything. Yes. I'm a blank slate. But you don't get hired as a blank slate. You get hired as the small town school teacher. Yes. And so the choices you make need to be specific, focused, targeted, as opposed to sort of generic. And it's a weird thing because you're trained to be generic. And now you have to flip that on its head.
Well, I just want to say I can do anything. Don't pigeonhole me, right? Don't typecast me. There's a subtle difference, and I think it's profound, between typecasting, which sure can happen, but then also knowing what special essence, something you're going to bring to any script, right? Because I'm going to bring my story to any script, right? And that's ultimately is a gift because it's my story. Nobody can do what I do because I'm me, right? So I'm unique, and I'm going to bring that. And I think... And now we get into sort of the aspects of marketing, because ultimately, even submitting yourself for a role here, which is a sales process, right? I'm submitting myself for the elementary school teacher. I want the job, sign the contract, get the money. It's a sales process. But it's part of marketing, because what I'm doing is I'm saying, I tell that story. This is me. And I'm marketing myself as a storyteller to another storyteller. And if I don't get this role, it's still a way that we get to know each other a little bit better. And knowing what stories you tell really well and knowing who else in town tell those stories ultimately becomes the marketing part of our job. Totally. And ultimately what I learned from CastingAbout, I didn't have that language before. But, in an ideal world, that's our day job, building those stories, building those relationships so that these submissions, truth is, if I submit a less than perfect profile to somebody who knows me, they already know me.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, and for those people who don't, who are being submitted and they're unknown, it doesn't mean you're never going to get picked. The odds are harder, and so you have to work harder. But ultimately, the reason you're going to get picked is because there's something that is specific and unique about you, and because there's something that the casting director is going to put their reputation, their professional reputation, on the line with their bosses. They're going to say, these people, you can trust all these people to do the job. And for an unknown, for somebody they don't know, you want to go as far as you possibly can to say, I'm professional, I'm prepared, I can do it, I fit this role. Like, the more reasons you give them to say no, the more likely they're going to say no. So you have to, that's why that specific focused sort of thing makes so much sense.
Yeah, great.
So now we know how to make our submissions professional and specific and tell the story, right? The problem is there are still
3,000 of them.
Yeah, and one of the things we've learned from casting directors is that 75 to 80% of the people that they bring in for auditions are people that they already know.
Wow.
So one of the things we've tried to figure out is how do you get to be one of those people that you already know?
Yes. Great. So next week we're going to talk about that. And that's where CastingAbout comes in, really, right?
We get to do this again?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Oh,
we'll be back.
I can't wait.
So join us next week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss it. And be sure to share this video with your friends if you love it and think they can benefit. We will see you next week. Bye.